What's up, everybody? Welcome to Wednesday. What's today? The 11th or something? It's the 11th. Wednesday, February 11th study session. We just missed two gorgeous setups. I'll go over it, but I hope everyone who's here, everyone who's been with us is starting to see the patterns, right? I hope you guys are starting to see the repetitiveness of the setups, where to wait for, what to look for, when the flips start happening, right? The failed bullish and bearish candles, the blue and the pinks, how to play them. There are so many low risk trades, and this is where I shine, right? Because I can trade at any time of the day. I can find setups whenever I want, and we'll just go over what just occurred right now. Obviously, this was ranging and chopping over here, big candles over here. Right now, I was eyeballing these two purples right here. This first one right here, right? Easy break, retest, your stop loss on this. And this is something I'm going to be going into a lot more detail on entry points, right? Where do we want to make entries? Your entry points on failed bearish or bullish moves are always the retest of those candles. Now, there are instances where this might just run. There are instances where it'll break and it won't retest and then it'll just go. That happens. I don't catch every single trade. There are multiple trade setups to catch. So here, right, give you that break of that bearish candle. Your entry is any retest, right? The retest could pull all the way down, right? This is where I do my strategic DCAing at times, right? If the risk is higher than 5 points, if you guys go check out the pinned messages in the quantum chat to look at my sizing based on points. I keep my sizing and risk very, 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 very continuous. I don't flip-flop. If I'm risking 6 micros on 5-point risk, I'm not going to risk the same 6 micros on a 15 or 10-point risk, right? And this is how I keep my P&L from fluctuating too wild. So immediately, right, if I see the break, I'm already looking, where's my stop loss going to be, right? Because I'm going to wait for the retest. So my stop loss is going to be below 23. That's my first thing. Next, I'm waiting. Okay, my entry will be around 29. I might get in with 4 micros to test this out because that's a good move down. That's not going to be a whole lot. That's like 6-point stop loss. And if it pulls back a little bit, right, if I say I want to play it safe, I'm going to start with 3. If it pulls back a little further, I might add 1 or 2. Stop loss stays the same. But if this continues the break, you're going to get the move, right? We just saw it happen again, right, on this guy, right? The wick is not the break. The candle closure is a break. It happened back to back. There were 2 plays here. If you didn't catch this one, there's the second one. Here's the second trade, 39.25. That's your breaking candle. Immediately, I'm looking where my stop loss is below 34. Right here, below 34. Looking for a retest around 39.40. Less than 6 points. And look at her go. Okay? So the entry points should be clear. But I always want to identify my stop. If you guys listen to me during Power Hour, I always identify my stop first. Like I say, if this holds below here, my stop will be here. I have to know where my stop loss is first to base my risk. If I don't, I'm not going to enter it. Simple as that. I don't like the risk, I might not enter it. Or guess what I might do? I'm going to size down quite a bit. Okay? So let's take a look what's happening now, right? The 5-minute is breaking this first level of trend. So again, one thing I want everyone to notice, right? Notice how I do not have the trend cloud on my 1 or 2 minute anymore. Okay, I want to make this clear. I do not look at the trend cloud on the 1 or 2 minute. I never have. I've always only paid attention to the higher time frame trend, the 5-minute and the 15-minute, to be clear. So this is the only trend I care about right here. So this, if you have the trend cloud on your 1 and your 2, right, you can kind of identify the short-term trend and you can see how strong it is if it doesn't break that first level. But you get a lot of chop around those trends. So I took it off because I was catching myself kind of being hesitant when certain plays showed up. So I want to see how much room I have for the trend on the 5-minute to potentially get played. So if you look at right now, there was a pullback all the way down to where? The 50 area, right? The 50 area is where this trend broke. Now for the 5-minute to confirm that break of that first area of the downtrend, and then to potentially challenge some more of that red cloud that we see for that second area, you want to see it start holding above 51. Okay, but it's a whole 5-minute candle, right? So here's where I would look at my DOM. Right, I use the DOM to trade, right? The SuperDom or the depth of market, which I use on Tradovate to see if there's a reaction at 50. If there's a reaction at 50, I know that there's a little bit of volume there. Now, the DOM, right? If some of you that aren't familiar with the DOM, let me switch over to show you what that looks like. Okay. Here's what the DOM will look like. Okay, let me see. No, okay, I can't. I have to switch. I want to record this part too. So I'm going to switch it to the screen on my recording. Where is the example? Here it is. Chart. And then let me go to Tradovate. There we go. Okay. So I want to record this part as well, right? So I have a bunch of accounts up here. I always have everything kind of laid out, right? Got my TPTs that are passed and waiting for them to get through. So I have a bunch of accounts. Let's go to this one here. I have a ton of room to mess around with this one, right? Here's the DOM. This is what it looks like. This is the depth of the market. This is where I take my trades. Now, when I'm looking for the DOM for reaction around a quantum level or a quantum setup, as it approaches an area where I want it to hold, I want to see the DOM start speeding up. I want to see reaction at that area. So when it approaches 50, right now it's kind of just moving slowly. It's kind of free floating, but as it approaches 50, I want to see one of two things. I want to see it speed up and get jerky and kind of pull up like it's doing right now. You see how it gets a little bit jerky and it starts pulling up. That's telling me this 50 area is kind of now a reaction zone. So I'm hoping that that 50 will hold through this 5 minute and there might be continuation. There might be. If I'm still holding on to this trade, I'm not going to make a trade entry based on just this alone, right? Just the uptrend or the downtrend break on the 5 minute is not a trade for me. That's just kind of confirming that the first level of the downtrend is breaking. Now, what would I look for, right? What I would look for next is if this gives me a potential range spot where there might be a bearish candle up here, a purple candle, I'm going to look for the break of that candle to continue the move up to challenge some more of this. That's where I know the confirmation of the flip is occurring, right? Here's how I would use this example with the crosses, right? Look how it flipped up over 50. Look, it came all the way down to 53 and that violent flip up. That 50 area is now strong. Now, with this cross that's trying to form over here at 56, if this flips above it and starts closing above 56, what would have been a potential resistance point becomes support, right? The flip. That's what I like to call it. All right. So I hope everyone can hear me because last time I think I was talking and no one could hear me. So right now I'm sharing with you guys the DOM. Okay, so let's go back now to the chart so that you guys can see what I'm talking about. Okay. So this is where I'm going to switch back. Let me get on here and switch this back as well. Okay. So here, right, here's that flip of that cross right here that was occurring at about 56. So as soon as this candle closes above, now I want to see this 56 hold as well. Once that 56 holds or it closes above, that's the flip of what would have been a resistance point, the confirmation of the trend flip. Okay, so there's a little bit of trend lesson here that's going on, right? How I play the trend cloud. And look at this, right? It broke 50, it held 50, continued up another 17 points, right? Again, I wouldn't take this play based on just that alone. I want other confluences. What I would use this for, say that I got into this trade earlier, right here, right? If I got into these two trades, if I'm holding a runner, I'm letting that runner run. And then I'm looking at, okay, what's it doing now, right? If it pulled me out on, if I had two runners, it pulled me out one here, I would let that one kind of float and let's see if this trend will break. That 51 breaks. Once that 51 breaks, I'll put my stop right below 50 just to see if that confirmation continues for that continuation move up. And that's where my runners tend to run. Okay, that's where I know if I got in, even if I got in up here at 40, your runner is still floating pretty well, right? If you got in down here at 30, you're smooth sailing already. And again, this is, right, we all have different trading styles, okay? I'm not a person that likes to scale in. The last couple weeks, I've been testing a little bit on scaling in on the continuation plays. But with the scale ins, I treat them exactly the same that if it were a new trade. So once I see this continuation, I would have had my stop on those ads right here, and my runner from the original trade would have still been running as well. So you're still kind of making sure the trade is green on the continuation. The problem sometimes is, right, that if you're not paying attention to your higher time frames, you might be caught in a potential break and then a pull down if the higher time frame is making either a new higher low or lower high, depending on where it is. So that's one of the reasons I don't personally like to scale in. I like to let the runner run and just continue. And if I see another setup forming, I'm going to give that runner space, right? If I'm trailing close, and I see that break, guess what? I'm going to move my trail underneath there. just to let it see. Let's see if this continues to go, and let's see if this runner can continue to eat. So something like that, okay? So that's something I've been testing a little bit. I've only done it a couple times. I'm personally not comfortable scaling in. I'd rather just let the runner run, okay? So that's what I wanted to start with. Missed these trades because they occurred right at the freaking open, right as soon as we came on. But I hope if some of you guys are understanding this part of quantum alone, right? It's not just the signals. The signals are usually confirmation if you have added confluences, right? I use Saucebox as a confluence, orb, right? Llama's fibs, some of those stuff like FEGs. You can see some reactions around those as well for added confluences for those signals to give you that extra little guidance for a stop loss or potential entry point, okay? All right, I saw a couple of questions get asked, so let me go into those for now while we watch, right? This level up here at 76, it hit 73, so this level, right, 5-minute levels. This is actually a stack level up here with the 88, right? Pretty much very close within 12 points, 13 points. Be cautious to use 5-minute levels as a TP point of any kind, because if the 5-minute level is strong, you're not going to really tap it. You're going to see this kind of resistance kind of space. But again, right, if it comes down all the way to 57, holds, right, we could potentially have that structure build where you might have a higher low to test that 76 for that continuation. But usually if I'm running a runner and I get close to it, I'm going to trail it close because I don't like to give much back. A play from down here to 40 to 70, that's 30 points. That would have been great. Even from down here from 30 to freaking 70, that's freaking, again, 40 points and 30 points. So there were two potential really nice trades there. Caught that with 3 micros as go, Monty. Saying it's just super repetitive, right? But understanding the entries and the stop losses, I know some of you guys struggle with that, but these are like the easiest ones. If you guys like listen to how I like to play things, I like to play for breaks and retests of ranges, right? I do the same thing with these candles. With the A++, with the A++ setup, right? Entry is always candle closure. You wait for the confirmation of that candle to close, and then you want the level also. You want the level to be, this is why I want everyone to pay attention where the cross should be on a real A++ setup. The cross should be within the middle of the candle or slightly behind it. I don't want it to be in front. What happens if it's in front? The move's already in progress, right? But what occurred here? It gave you an opportunity for an advanced read here before this level broke, right? Your level would have been right here, right? This is where your level would have been. Okay, let's get rid of these for now. Your level would have been right here at 33, right? If the move occurred, gave you a little pull up to 33.25 again, right? There's your retest. That's a potential play for me, which I call the advanced read, attached to an A setup. It's not A++ because cross did occur in front. My stop loss would be the same above that candle. So 33, about a 6-7 point stop loss, right? This thing gave you a nice pull down all the way to 215. Okay, nice play for low risk. You have to be unafraid to take these. But again, this is why sizing is important, right? You're going to lose some trades. You're not going to win every single trade. No strategy is 100%, right? Anybody who claims to have something like that is freaking lying to you, because if they don't own like the world, then, they don't have a 100% win rate because you'd be filthy rich. So this is what you want to kind of be cautious with their sizing, repetitiveness, following the same routine over and over, and understanding where the entry points would be, right? On a good A++ setup, you don't want the cross to be in front because it will be already, the move will be in progress. And then a potential entry point would be on a retest, okay? This another part I want to be clear of, because I saw a couple people, be cautious being in a setup when a market is about to open, right? You have 7 p.m. Sydney, 8 p.m. Tokyo. I think 8:30 is China or something, or 9:30. I can't remember what times are for every single market. But you want to be very, very cautious trying to get into a setup so close to market open, because you're going to potentially get wicked out. And the movement from that impulsive volume is going to do some fuckery. I don't know a better way to put it, right? Here's a setup that occurred at 6:58. I saw one of you guys mention this in the chat, right? At 7 p.m., right? There's your fuckery candle right there. Pulled down really fast, only to pull itself back up and make that little bit of a move until it rejected and came right back down. Okay? So be cautious with that. Okay? Here, right? This one is not a real A++ setup as well, because if you look where the measurement of the cross was, this cross occurred in front after this candle, but right, it's still within the body. I would play a potential retest, same thing, stop loss below the candle, right? What's my confluences here to take? I have that level below. That level down here at 207. I actually caught this level bounce. I got in on that level, on that push up on this wick up here. I got in up here and then had my stop loss right below that wick. That's it. This is how I play these level bounces, but I want to see a bullish wick. I don't want to see this thing be down here because that's a weak bounce. I want to see a nice pull up, and then I want to see that closure be a nice bullish wick, nice hammer, right? Bullish hammer here, or as Max called it, the Logan looking ass candle. I love Max's react on during the MOC live. MOT live, it was so good. Here's where you would have that, right? And then you have that push up. And then you have your A++ confirmation for the continuation, right? Even here presented another entry point on that pullback to retest that area, that 18 area. As long as that 18 area holds, stop loss will be either below 10 or below that level at 206. You should see a good push, right? But again, right, there depends on certain areas and times of the day with volume. If it's slow and choppy, you're going to see a lot more slow movement. Tonight hasn't been too bad, okay? Right, here's another example of a cross happening in front, right? It did come down and retest the whole thing, wicked up, did it one more time, right? This wick would have stopped somebody out if they even had the chance to get stopped. If you made an entry here and then it pulled down just a couple points below it, you still would have been alive if it pulled right back up. But then what occurred afterwards, right? What occurred afterwards? Then you had your quantum range. And then you had your next setup right here. There's your break, there's your retest. Your stop loss right above there, right? Entry anywhere around 50, stop loss above 58. Very nice move that commenced after that. You start seeing this all over the place happening over and over and over again, right? Market opens, right? Remember how I use quantum for MOC. MOC for me is all about the levels. I do the same thing with market opens. Guess what? The market opened right below that level at 88.25. Could not break it. Could not break it. Big wick, closed below, entered a short. Nice push down. There's your 5-minute cross that occurred right here for that additional push down. And then there's your continuation on the break of that little bullish candle there that also led a little scalp opportunity then to another opportunity, another trade, right? Why I can trade as much as I do. But again, I always have my stops. I always know when the play is dead, and then I wait for the next setup. Then you had your break, and you had your next move. Then you have that tap at that level. Then you had your next move up. Okay? So, want to make sure that's as clear as possible, right? Here's a beautiful A++ setup, cross behind the candle right there. Candle closure is entry. This didn't give a whole lot of pullback. So you wouldn't have gotten an opportunity to really DCA. And then 86 launched all the way up here for a nice, almost 30-point move. Right there. 30-some point move. Right? Then this one gave an A+ setup too, right? But the candle, much bigger, big impulse down, right? Gave a tiny push, then pulled itself up, retested the whole candle, rejected it, and then commenced this little move down, right? But again, what do we have here that presents itself? All right, we have then the range right there. There's your break, right? And then you had your little, not real retest here. This one gave you the closest. That would have been scary for a wick out, and then boom, 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 just constantly stayed below it. And then here's where we are now, right? And this happened at 4 o'clock. So I obviously wouldn't even be playing this. 4 o'clock, you're going to get a lot of low volume effery, basically, right? Here's the short I was eyeballing for power hour, right? You can see it all here, right? Let's look at the power hour short, okay? Very simple. Here's your 5-minute level below 350, right? This is why I was looking for this to stay below 350 before we caught that 60-point drop right at the beginning of power hour. Here is that 50 area, 52.25 is what I wanted it to hold. And then you got that huge pull down right at the beginning. That was literally it. Just that 5-minute level forming, right? You had your blue candle break over here. That was the additional, right? Additional thing. There was 2 confluences. Plus what I was seeing with the 5-minute, I had multiple confluences on this. I think I had 3 or 4, right? You had the level up here. You had the failed bullish candle right here, right? You had boom, boom, boom. Stop loss was right above 50. Very simple. And then you had the meltdown. Very, very quick and easy play right there, right? Repetitive, 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 over and over and over again, right? These crosses that happen above add risk to the setup, right? Crosses above add risk. Okay, there's no telling which one of these play out better than the others. but they're the same idea. Entry is the entry is the candle closure. Your stop loss is above the candle. You could, if you want, put your stop loss above the cross itself, but remember what occurs when a failed bearish move occurs with these candles. There's a chance that's going to start going the other way. In this instance, it hit the wick pretty much on the dot a couple times. Wouldn't have stopped you out, but the risk was there, and then it did play out in the end for a nice little pull down. Okay, so each setup, right, has its own little thing that you look for, right? This pulled down right into the previous range break where it occurred, right? You had a little range here. Right, you had that range here, right? Where did it pull down? Both times that it pulled down into right in here. First one could not break here. That's a tight potential play. And then it bounced right up, pushed up again, right? And then you can see the little progressions of the breaks as this kind of confirms your uptrend. There's your break, there's your retest, there's your little push up, then gave you that violent pull down over here, right into that previous little square. And this is how like I identify zones, right? All of a sudden, I have this big asshole right here. Right, this is my top. This little thing is like my mid. That's my bottom. Now I have all this to kind of look at. And if it's too wide, or if it's like I'm not going to be playing the tight chops in between. Now I want it to be a little wider. I'm going to wait for another continuation break. And then you have a little break here, little retest, little push up. And then you had your new purple candles up here, made your little range wider. And you can see as it continues to hold the bottom, right? This area, you can treat it like your mid. And as it continues to hold this, it's looking like it wants to pull up. And then you had your continuation of a failed bearish move. There's your break, there's your push, there's your other break, just no pullback at all, and then your continuation up occurred. And this is just how I read the market, right? When I read levels, when I'm reading areas during power hour, I'm reading these little spots where the trend looks strong up. If I'm looking at the trend on the 5 minute and it looks like it's uptrending, then I'm constantly going to be looking for these failed moves. You can find an A++ setup when you have level reactions, right? You have this clean level reaction over here, right? There's a 5 minute level that's attached to a 1 minute candle. Let's look at where this actually was on the 5 minute chart. This occurred all the way over here, right down here, right? What is it attached to? It's attached to a big ass blue candle. This is from 10:50 a.m., right? This candle also did what? It overtook a bearish candle. So this I know is a strong area just based on that alone. So when it came back down to it, right, I saw that Logan looking ass candle, the hammer, and then it pulled back down. And then I saw the opposite. And I'm like, oh, okay, looks like it's gonna try to make an attempted push until this guy pulled up and it gave me that curl, that sharp curl right here. Then once it gave me this, that's my little kind of confirmation of, you know what, we might get that cross up here, and I will make my entry start here at 62, and I will either use this wick here or the level itself as my stop loss, right? And again, that's a 20, almost, that's about 16, 17 points. I'm going to enter this with 1 or 2 micros, and that's it, right? If I want to like enter one and wait for a little pullback to add another one, maybe, but I'm not going to enter this much with that high of a risk. But the move did play pretty well on that as well. Okay, and this is how I play levels. Like I wait for the reaction, I wait for those candle wicks to start forming to give me the hold. I don't try to always play the immediate bounce. I want to see that wick. I want to see that boom, the hard wick, that nice hammer, bullish hammer if it's on a level below for support, or a bearish hammer if it's on a level up top for potential resistance. Okay, all right. I went through a lot. In that little time. Oh, look what's happening now. Here's another one. All right, what was I saying? This could potentially happen. Now, this is gonna make that potential push to 76. This is still scary because it is very tight. It is very tight. So you want to be careful here. You want that candle to close above first. This is the high of the night, looks like. Right? No, the high of the night's all the way up at 94. Then, right, from here, from 69 to 76, that's not a whole lot of room. So I'd be cautious taking this trade, honestly. Like, I wouldn't like that because you're up against a stack level. So you have to be careful. Let's go look at the 5 minute over here, right? The 5 minute, it got really close to challenging that second level of the trend. It got really close. So currently, you know, there it goes right now. Look, it just went. Sometimes it just goes. It doesn't give you an entry point. It just goes. Oh, we're 8 o'clock. We're at 8 o'clock, guys. Market opening. Okay, we're at Tokyo Open right now. Let's watch this for a second. All right, rejected off 76. So now you have, let's see if it'll hold this 69 area. If it does not, it'll come back in and it'll retest this whole little area to 62. And let's see if it continues to go past this. This is where you want to be cautious with market openings. That push in volume is going to mess up anything that looks like a clean setup. So let's watch this develop a little bit. Completely selling off that blue right now, all the way down. And now I'm going to look at my DOM, and I'm not getting any reaction down here. Not right now, at least. So still, until I see the DOM start speeding up, then I know that there's going to be a potential reaction at that area. Now it's speeding up down here at 64, right here. So that's that first 64 to 62. So it is speeding up right there. So let's see if it starts jerking up, or if it, yep, there it goes. Look at that. They jerked up to 68. And now I want to see it come back down again and do the same thing. But if it doesn't, it's starting to show weakness. So there it is again, right? Now it's pulling right down 64. Now we're going to test this bottom side potential at 63. I want to see if it gives that jerk motion again. No, it's not. So it's kind of looking a little, it's looking questionable. The 63 is looking like it might not be that strong. Okay, there's a little bit of a push. But now it's giving me a little bit of speed up here at 66. Just a little bit, not too much. It's not a lot of volume. So the DOM speeding is the DOM speeding up is very subtle. So you have to be able to identify where the DOM speed kind of, where the DOM's natural speed is based on the volume that you're having that night or day, and then be able to identify where the speed ups occur. So the DOM is speeding up right here now. So it's getting a little bit like it's stuck between that 65 and 60. All right, these two areas right here. This is where it's stuck in between. So when whichever side it decides to pull through, if it holds above 65, then you might get this little test back up here to 69. The 5 minute. Everything is kind of curling down a little bit. So you want to see if it'll hold below 68. You want to see if it'll hold below all this and then start making its little breakdown below. Well, let's see what happens here. Is this 2 seconds is going to close this 1 minute candle. That next candle immediately opened on the bottom side here. All right, now we're back to 60. All right, here we're getting that pull down. The 5 minutes giving me a pull down, but I want to wait for that candle closure. And again, this is still Tokyo opening, so there's still going to be some volume reaction here. Let's see what happens. All right. And I'm going to start answering some of these questions. Look at that, just immediately melting down. So I want to see if it'll close below and then give a little bit of a retest. Stop would be above 65. And then this first break would be above 66. It's just going to melt. If it's just going to melt, it's just going to melt. There's that pull up right there. A little pull up. I'd like to see it kind of get a little bit closer. Then I want to see if this rejects here. I want to see if the DOM starts reacting up here. It's not giving me much reaction. Like it's not speeding up in this area like I like to see it. But let's see if this second candle rejects here. Okay, it's rejecting so far. So with the way today is going, definitely would take 5 points first and then see if it'll continue to the 10 to kind of reduce the risk a little bit. I'm not liking how it's pulling itself back up. Like it's not giving me that DOM reaction that I look for when I see a strong area for resistance or vice versa. But it is rejecting it so far. And the stop on this would be either above 66, right up here 65.50, or right above here at 67. So it's not like horrible. But let's see what the 5 minute looks like. 5 minute looks kind of pushing. And let's see what this does here. All right, pushing it back to 63. Now if this 2 minute purple candle breaks, this is telling me this still wants to go up a little bit. So that's about 65. So that would be where the stop loss would be right here. The stop loss would be like right there. That would be like right here at 65 or 67. Yeah, the DOM's it's not reacting much. There's just no volume right now. Even for Asia. Usually for Tokyo, there's a little bit of volume. So this might take a second. What's ATR right now? Doesn't look like ATR is too good. Let me take a quick peek with PHP. It's at 6. Okay, it's not horrible, but it's not the best either. So far 2 rejections, but the DOM's not giving me that reaction I'm looking for the speed up at around 60, 61. So this might take a while. Even just to get stopped out, it might take a while if it goes. If it just goes, it'll take its sweet little time here. And now the DOM's speeding up a little bit right here at 59. I want to see if it starts to pull down some, but if it can't pull down on this speed up I'm seeing, then it's gonna want to push back up a little bit. Because I'm not seeing any speed at 61, 62. And this is the area I want to see it speed up on. So yeah, it starts reacting at 58, but I don't have anything on my 58 to kind of give that area potential strength. Let me zoom out a little bit. Well, I got that little structure point right here. It's just hanging out right now. It's just hanging out. It's not doing anything. All right. Let's start going. Let me start answering some of these questions. Maestro, you said earlier, I do all of it. Crosses with A++, but also want other confluences like orbit and other levels. I play some level bounces on evals and a lot of the quantum ranges and breaks of the candles. That second part, I play some level bounces on evals and a lot of ranges and break candles. What does that mean? So I hope I explained some of that. I went over a couple of those level bounces, what I look for. Right? I wait for that reaction on those wick bounces and things like that. On evals, right, if the move is violent, usually you will get some sort of bounce, but I play like very tight stops on those, like literally like 5 to 10 points max. If it bleeds through, I'm out, period. So those level bounces, usually for a strong potential flip up, I do wait for what I see on that candle bounce. Look at that. That went down and then wicked me out right there. What did that hit? That hit 56.50. That hit 56.50. Wicked my ass out. So this thing, that's why I didn't like that pull down. I didn't see my DOM reacting in this area like I would have liked. And this is how I use the DOM as confluence. Oh yeah, this is the 2 minute failed. So this looks like it wants to keep going. It wants to keep going. Again, I'm eyeballing the 76. It has to break through this. There's your 2 minute break of that purple right there. So this might keep going here. And again, right, we can't win them all. It did give a little bit of a move, but did not give it as deep as I wanted to. So now let's see what it does at 76. The 5 minutes still trying to reject it, but the 1 minute's trying to curl up. And again, right, what am I looking for? I'm looking for a break. I want to see a continuation hold up here. That is a very, very bearish looking wick. Does not mean it will, but let's see. Right now I can move this down here. So now this has gotten wider for me. This is dawn for me. That level's out. So now here's where I sit. Did I draw that right? No. The 2 minute was right there. Yeah, 2 minute was right there. I guess I'll set this right here. All right, let's see. It's a very strong rejection, still at 76. Let's see how this looks right here. This match up. Yep, that matches up with my 1. All right. So I caught 50 points. Where you go? Hello, new here. The blue lines on your screen are not mine. No, these blue lines I draw, not profit. You grab these, right? You would grab them from right here where you have your lines, trend line, all that fun stuff. And you would grab them from here. And then you would put them, if you want to visualize it, put it on. I don't always put the lines on to draw where your bearish and bullish candles are going to be, right? This was the 8 p.m. candle. This is why I still have this here, because this is that Tokyo opening. So that volume spike up, right, gives me a little bit on that. Like this purple candle here, to me, it would still be valid just based on what happens on 8 o'clock. It's a volume spike, right? Rejected this level. So next I want to see is this candle hold above this here, and then maybe challenge the 76 again stronger, and then potentially break it. But at the moment, if it does break this, I have that 88.25. Past that, I don't have anything until all the way up here. Let's delete that guy. So this is where it stands. And currently, right, it made a higher low too. So it didn't want to break structure. I wanted to just keep going. So here's where this 76 area is still a resistance point. Okay. New here, blah, blah, blah. I caught that with 3 markers. Where to go? Okay, the 125, of course, the one candle I looked possibly answer was red, and I got a call and thought about not trading tonight. I came back and this happened. Let's see. Where did that occur? Hold on. 1, 2, and 5, and of course the one candle I looked at. The one candle. One, 2, and 5. Let's take a look at that area. Let's see what time. What time was that? That's over here. That's this right here. And then you got that guy. This. Okay, let's look at what that is on this. And the 5. Boom. And then that was here on the 2. And then, yeah. And that was a blue on the 5. So not sure what that would be about. Not sure what I'm looking at with there, Schwab. Not sure what I'm looking at. Just a little tiny candle and then the rest. Okay, lost him. Back up now. We all know that. Okay, we got some neon. Looks sick. Yeah, I love the neon, man. G57 did a great. Whoever he found to get this for me was freaking amazing. Cooked, literally. I'm gonna think of that too. All right. Very nice. All right. Do you wait for the retest after it breaks levels? Diego, I do. I do wait for the retest. It makes the trade less risk, right? That pop up took me out 6 points. I wasn't worried about that. 6 point stop loss. I'm not worried. It is recorded. Yep, it's gonna be on YouTube. 10-4. I'll check it out. Thanks, guys. Look, we rejected that 76 again. Now we're back into the range. Back into the range, and now the 2 minute range got wider. That is right around there, so pretty close. Now I want to see if I still think this 5 minute wants to come down. This 5 minutes curling down, but I'm going to wait for that 56 to break. All right. Is there any reason why we didn't get any buy signal today at 12:06? There was a breakout. Let's take a look at 12:06. 12:06 was around right here. Nope, this was just that level bounce at 12:06 right here. I actually just went over that. So you're not always going to get signals if the things don't line up, right? It doesn't mean that there's not a play. 1208, right? This was off by a tiny bit just because the cross happened in front, but no clean signals on the 2. And then 1206, yeah, just this was just pure price action crossing over, pure just stack level, but no criteria that would have triggered the blue candle here. But it did play out. You have confluences here just based on the level play, right? You don't have to always wait for that candle itself. The level play is good too. This lined up. You had your one blue candle on the 2 minute, but this lined up for a pull up. All 3 time frames lined up for that pull up. Once this cross down broke, once that level bounced hard, that next candle ripped up. The next candle kind of retested that area, confirmed the hold, and then pushed up hard. But there was no like A++ setup, if you want to call it that, right? And then you had your continuation setups. You had your continuation setups over here on these failed bearish moves that occurred. You had that guy, and then you had this next guy over here, right? These didn't present themselves with the best, like, you know, entry points, right? This one, right, pushed up, and then you could have entered on the retest here and then added here. Stop loss would have been here, but this was a pretty big, that was like a 20-some point stop loss. So that would have been a scary play. And then you wanted this to hold, and then you want to see the confirmation flip on the break right there for that bearish candle. And then you can see the other play here, right? You can see the play here, boom, right? There's your break, there's your retest, and there's your move. So you can see it. Ooh, wait. It broke 56. No! I missed it. Hold on. Oh, damn it. Anybody catch this? It left a gap up here, though. Be careful. Be careful. If somebody caught that, beauty. But if not, oh well. It's going to retest that gap all the way up there at 58. The 2 minute. The 5 minute was pointing down. That level rejecting hard. Again, like there's variations of play with quantum. Oh yeah, we're getting a purple on the 5 minute now. I want to see if it will. This big gap right here, all the way up at 58. That's a huge gap on NQ. It's a very big gap, so be cautious on that. But that was a hard breakthrough. You want your 5 minute to continue to pull down, right? But it has room to test this candle down here at 230. All right, MVG fill at 74. I was in the long from 64. Nice, Emma. How does the cloud work exactly? Also, don't see where to turn it off. So to turn off the cloud, Blue Mafia, right? You go here to settings, and you go where it says trend transparency. And here you're going to set that to 100, and it'll disappear. So the trend cloud is 2 levels of trend, right? You have your bright level, which is your current tight trend, and then you have your dark level, which is your secondary trend. So when I used to trade the single trend, and I would get faked out a lot. I would get faked out a lot on a single trend play, and I would catch these plays, and then I would get caught in a bounce. So the double trend was something I started doing, and I started doing it on the higher time frames. Mainly on the lower time frames, they can get a little choppy here and there because then you're going to be scared of every entry. So that's why I only use it on the 5 minute. But when I look at it on the higher time frame, right, I have that deep space to kind of keep an eye of, because if you look at here, right, that first level broke and then it tested the whole thing almost, right? It hit almost 80. It hit this level at 76.50. That break would have been up here at 80. It didn't break it. Hard rejection off both these things for the downtrend, that secondary level of downtrend to hold and continue. And that's how I use it. I like to use it to determine where the trend overall is. And then I look for the setups on the 1 minute to kind of correspond, right? If the trend is strong on the 5 minute down, what am I going to look for? I'm going to look for failed push moves, right? I'm going to look for good confluence push ups for scalping a little push up for making a higher low or a lower high, vice versa, right? That's how I kind of play it when I'm looking at these setups. And then I'm going to see if the opposite starts occurring for the trend to continue. I do the exact same thing when a trend flip is confirmed, right? I don't want to get caught in a fake trend flip, so I wait for what to happen. If a trend flip is confirmed, I start looking for the failed bearish moves. And that's what I'm playing over and over and over again. Okay? So hopefully that makes sense for you. And again, right, we do these every week. So please, like, if something doesn't make sense, right, ask it again over and over again. And I will go over this, and I will always post these videos on YouTube so you guys can rewatch them at your own pace. Okay, so it turned around at 5-minute level. To open, something to look for. It turned around at the 5-minute level at 273. Yes. Yep, the 5-minute levels you can look for rejections. 5-minute levels are strong, right? You just got that rejection point, right? Once over here. This is where it rejected, got close, hard rejection. You had your stack level up here as well to look out for. That's a huge gap it left, though. This is going to get filled eventually. The 5-minute is trying to continue its move down, but it needs to stay below 54. So if it can't break above 54 at the moment, right, that gap won't get filled. But we could see a spike up to fill it and then come back down maybe. But that's a big-ass gap. 6.5, 6.5, 7 ATR. All right, order sitting at 61 volume. I usually find 8.15-ish, there's usually an increase in volume. At 8.15, really? I never noticed that, Schwab, at 8.15. Because that is where you would draw the lines below the purples, yes. What have I learned here? You don't always need to take a trade. Yes. Yes, yeah, yes, Dan, that's good. 58's a midline of a mother candle range for me. You gotta show me what a mother candle is, 1111. I don't know. When you say mother candle, I'm not sure what that means. The 742 candle made a level. Maybe that's where it is reacting to. Let me take a look. 742. Oh, you are right. I missed that right here. See, even I missed stuff. You are absolutely right, not profit. That failed cross right here. I completely forgot about that. That's where it freaking bounced. See, even I missed stuff. And this is why I always screenshot my losses. And you saw it. Nice, man. That's right. This right here. That's where it freaking bounced. And then it broke it. Now you want to see it kind of stay below. On the money, brother. Way to go. There you go. See, correcting me. That's amazing. Respecting that 0.5 on my fib. Haha, I got out just in the time for $5 profit. Way to go, Ronald. Hey, it's the thing. Control the losses. It's okay, right? I took a 6-point loss. That's not going to hurt me. Seems like you are using the 2-minute more and more. Jack, yes, I am using the 2-minute more and more because of the triple time frame confluence, the trifecta. So you can really eyeball, you can really see like bigger ranges, potential setups as well, right? I'm taking all my entries on the 1 minute. That's going to be clear as day. I'm always going to take my entries on the 1 minute, but I'm like kind of looking at where the ranges tend to form and where the continuation moves can continue. And again, they present themselves the same way on every single time frame. The setups present themselves the exact same way. So right now, this thing is trying to push back up, or it's holding on to this 50, right? So there's a chance we're going to see this fill right here, and I want to see what it does after it fills this. I want to see what the 5-minute does. This 5-minute has a few seconds left to go, so it could easily, the 5-minute level is the stronger level. This could continue to push down as well. But I would like to see it kind of fill that gap, honestly, to kind of make it a little better of a setup. Hey, Javi. Okay, wait. I just noticed I have one of those missing pairs in the blue at 952. Missing pair. Looks the same as mine, I think. Oh, this right here. This one right here. Try refreshing, but your candle looks like a doji. That might be MNQ, because your candle looks more like a doji than mine looks like a hammer. So it might be MNQ that you're on, and there's going to be slight differences, unfortunately. If you're charting on MNQ versus NQ, there are going to be little tiny differences. And it's just something that we try to figure out how to override. Here's that fill at 58, that popping right above it. Now I want to see if it rejects it or not. But this also broke that bearish candle here, so it's looking pretty bullish at this point for a potential continuation here. So let's wait and see what it does here. Because that's that gap. I was like, this is gonna fill. This is a rare NQ gap. You don't see this very often. So I want to see this fill, and I want to see what occurs. I want to see if this gets failed, if that bullish move that's occurring right now fails, or if it's gonna continue to push up here. So it has to break this guy now and the level below. So this is what I was looking to see. What could potentially occur here. So that's why I heed caution when I see a big ass gap like that, because it's gonna fill. All right. How does a cloud work exactly? So okay, so right there you have both those failed pairs. Wouldn't your range have changed? So right over here, because of that 8 o'clock candle, I kind of left it alone. Oh man, look at that spike up. Wow, that ripped, that held that gap right into 67 again. And now we're seeing our failed bullish move on the 5-minute. So this is looking like it wants to continue up now. Obviously, we had it on the 1. It breaks that 76. I think it's going to keep going here. Here's 76. The Dom is reacting right there. Oh, yep, they're ripped right through it. Look at that thing go. Wow. This now volume picked up. What time is it? It's 8:27. So we got volume at 8:27. Yeah, look at it go now. Now it's picking up. Now it's moving. The Dom is moving. All right. Risky A++ setup. Filled that gap. Could not break back below it. Skyrocketed. That was quite a skyrocket, honestly. Look at that thing go. Wow. Up to 88 now. 88.25 breaks. There's a lot of room up, but I'd be cautious still. We got 96.75 on the 2. That's where it's kind of getting held right now. So it tapped it right on the money, right at 88.25. Five-minute has a minute 40. Now you want to see if it'll hold above the 70, or it'll hold above if it retests all the way down to that 66 where that bearish candle was. Let's just keep watching. So right there you have both those failed pairs. What did the range change? Yeah, the range would normally change when there's a failed pair, right? But this is that Sydney. This was that Tokyo opening, so I left it alone to see if it'll respect it and close above. It did not. But then the level stayed in play. This wants to go. All right. Okay, so there you have both of them. 6.5, 6.57 ATR, blah, 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 blah. I usually find A15 there's volume, but how you learn here is always, that 742 made a level. Yep, okay, okay, where am I? Just noticed I have one of those missing pairs of blue. Okay, I went over that one. Yeah, have you talked about the auto trailing stops? The auto trailing stops, like the setting on Tradovate. I'm gonna make a video based just on Tradovate soon. Obviously, my time vanishes, so I have a list of videos I want to make. But I do need to make one on that, the auto trailing and stuff, because I do switch from when I have my hard stop, right? I switch my trailing to stop only on my phone. I can't do that. I can't do that on the phone. On the phone, I have to hit the cancel all. Hey Javi, will this be recorded? Yes, it will be recorded. Hey, did I mention? Hey, dude, mention it's going to be uploaded if people missed it. Yes, Adam, it will be. Bro, you are so far back. I was more just joking. I got to cost out. I know I'm super far back because I got in on that. I get in the groove and I just start going. What was your quantum range at 3 p.m.? Was it the 2 candles around 2:45? Let's take a look. 3 p.m. 3 p.m. was over here. Right, I want to make sure right here. Yep, these guys right here. So this was the level above, right? You had the little break over here and the little push. Give you a little retest, little push, then push right back in, and then did the opposite, right? So initially this was your range right here, right? This was the range right here. That push up, right? I would have wanted it to push up to that level. Didn't give it to us, right? Broke, retested 51, 57, pulled right back down, then did the opposite, broke 44. Now you have your next potential setup here with a lot more room down. At this point, there was more room down. There was the entry. Looking at my 5-minute candle, my 5-minute setup as well, looking like it wanted to point down. There's the level formation, and that was that meltdown right here that occurred right before we started officially the power hour for that 60-point drop. That was instant. So that's what that range was right up here. It's dumping. She finished it. I'm gonna go back 22, two gaps. I caught it. Asia or breaks. There you go, Trina. Very nice. Told you A15. My shows your quantum lessons here every week this time. Not exactly at this time. But I'm gonna try to make them like Wednesdays when there's no other shows, right? We have happy. It's called Happy Hour now. It's gonna happen every day, Monday through Friday. So I will wait for that show to be over, and if I do one during lunch, it would be right after the morning show. If there's no trading wheels on. That 56 level is supposed to get off the break, or do you usually wait for a retest? That 56 level, are you supposed to get in off the break? I will play everything with the same way: break and retest, break and retest. That's my bread and butter. That's how I find low risk setups, and I play everything almost the same way: break and retest. So if the retest doesn't present itself, I might not get an entry. Simple as that. So if I see a level break, I want to see it break, and then I want to see a retest. I want to see it hold. I'm going to use the candle that breaks it as my guide. Right? That 5-minute level just broke on the 5-minute chart, right? But you got to wait for a whole 5-minute candle to kind of test the whole thing and hold it right here, right? That whole area needs to hold the 77 area. This is where that level was at, 76, right? So this area needs to hold now. I would look at my DOM to see if I see reaction there, right? I don't have any of my quantum candles on the 1 minute, none on the 2 minute either. So if I would to look at this, right, if the 5 minute does continue to hold over 76 and then we break 88.25, we're going to get more push up. If I get the candles to appear, right, if right now the 1 minute's trying to curl down a little bit, I would wait for one of my candles to show up for potential play. At the current moment, this is looking like it wants to continue up. The break of 80 is also the break of the downtrend, right here. So it's kind of retesting this whole area to kind of see if it's going to hold. It needs to break that 1 minute level at 88.25 next as well. That 56 level, you're supposed to get on that. Quantum and fib levels are so, yeah, they are 11-11. Like I will always preach how much I love Llama's fibs because they are freaking goated. Like they are so amazing. Maestro, can you analyze a possible entry from 14:27 p.m. like you were doing pre-market? 125 crosses and clarifying it would be great input. 14 was 227. Let's go look at 227. Oh yeah, she's going. Look at that. She's ripping through 88.25, going right to that 2 minute at 96.75. That's where we kind of stalled out a little bit. The DOM, there's volume right now. The DOM's finally speeding up. Like it finally sped up. All right. 1427. Are you talking about maybe this area? For me, 1427 depends on your time zone. This looks like it was 1126. This was 1023. Because 1427 for me would be 16, 27, 27. I don't see anything at 214 is 227. Oh, I'm sorry, man. I'm looking at the wrong time. 227, 227, 227. I don't see anything at 227 on my end. But that depends on your 1427. Like we're doing pre-market 1, 2, 5. So 1427 for me was right around here. Let me see what I got over here. All right. Got out of that long right there. All right. That pushed up violently. That was a nice push up. All right. Let's go look at. Might have to get a clarification on your time zone, Madhouse, so I can actually look at it correctly. Get rid of all this right now. I'm going to get rid of that. I don't even know why I have the orb on the 2 minute. I don't even use it on the 2 minute. 27. Yeah, I don't see anything like other than this rejection here. The 227. I don't see anything at 227. So it might be I don't know what time zone you're in. I might be looking at the wrong time. I'll get back to that. And that gap shows. That gap does not show on MNQ. It didn't show on MNQ. That's interesting. But that's super noticeable here. Like that thing was just super noticeable. Do you still trade gold, Wingnut? I do still trade gold, but I've limited it because every single prop has limited the amount of freaking micros you can trade on it. On Alpha, I was only able to go in like with 1 or 2 micros, which sucks. I think FFF is the only one that hasn't put those limits, if I'm mistaken, right? But like 1 micro, 100 tick move is like $70 now. Kind of, right? Kind of sucky. They don't let you trade more than that, so it's like, oh. What time frames are best to trade and best to avoid? I can't stand when there is no volume or when it's spastically moving with too much volume. The best times may vary because of that, the volume. There are nights where there's really nice volume and it moves really, really well. And then there are nights where it doesn't move so well. It's slow. One trade might take 5 to 7 minutes to play out. And that's where I'm like, you know what? Tonight's not the night. And I might trade a couple accounts and then call it a day. Then you have like, New York varies with the open. Obviously, the first 30 minutes of New York is always wild. So you want to be cautious around that as well. So you kind of have to like start taking notes at your times. Be like, when am I the least profitable? When am I getting faked out the most? And then you could make your judgments. Right. I have my specific times, but I share those with my students only, where I collected my own data with the thousands and thousands of hours that I probably traded at this point. And I know what times I'm the most profitable and what days I'm the most profitable and what times I'm not. And that's why I give that feedback of be cautious trading around market opens. So that's kind of like a little part of it. Like, don't get into a trade within 10 minutes, 15 minutes of a market opening, because you're going to get that fuckery. You're going to get that volume spike. The plays that look good are all of a sudden not going to be good. And then they may continue afterwards, but you're going to get that wick candle because of that volume spike. In manual, you said killer is A++ formed in pocket range. Pocket range. Can you explain what that means? I don't know if I've said pocket ranges. I'm going to have to look at that, because when I'm talking about like a range, I'm talking about like a wide range on the 5 minute, right? If I'm looking for like a wide range on the 5 minute, like this, right? You got this range on the 5 minute that occurred at 4 p.m. and it was from 92 to 70. That's not even that big of a range. The bigger one would have been all the way up to 312. But even this isn't like a nice range for me. But I don't call anything a pocket range. So I would have to look at that. Right here. This is kind of a wide range over here. 66 to 81. Yeah, this is a wide range. So let's take a look at what this looked like on the one. So over here, this is a nice wide range. So you initially had this, and then you had this, right? Nice wide range on the 5 between 1045 and 1220. 1045 and 1220. Let's go take a look at what that looked like. 1045, 1220. So about 1045 started right here. All right, so let me jot those down exactly how I see it on the 5 minute. That's where it would have started. And then my top would have been up here, right there. And then you can kind of see, right? That was a nice little push up. Rejected. And you see the back and forth. No A++ setup here. Kind of just pushed up and then finally broke. Little push up. Broke right back in. Then pushed up. And if you guys listen to how I look at setups, right? I treat everything like an orb. Right, so if I add a little midline to that same range, I can identify what this looks like. And you can start seeing some cleaner moves. So little added sauce in there that you can use when the range is wide. And it's a very wide range. And that's based on the 5 minute, things like that. But I don't think I've ever called anything a pocket range, so I'm gonna have to go look at the manual on that. That's an example of what that'll look like for playing those 5 minute wide ranges. In manual on 2 minute chart, but like A++ setup, I always look for additional confluences. Always, right? I don't just want to play a A++ setup in the middle of the chart, even though sometimes they'll play out. I want it to be around a level, always around a level, around orb, around one of my sauce boxes, around llama's fib, all that. That's what I look for. On 2-minute chart settings is your time frame. On the 2-minute chart, yep, it's 1 and here we go, right? 1 minute and 2 minute. And on gold, right? On gold is the only one where you want your 1 minute chart to be the 1 and the 2. Okay, this is the only ticker. Silver is 1 and 5. Everything else is 1 and 5. This is the only one you want to have time frame 2 set to 2 minutes. The time frame 2 SR to 2 minutes is gold. That's the only one. Everything else is 1 and 5, right? But what do I look at on gold, right? I look at the trend on gold. I look at the trend. I look at the 5-minute trend. Gold respects the trend, and then it respects volume as well. So when I'm looking for setups on gold, I'm looking at where the trend is, and then I'm looking to capitalize on potential setups on those, especially around level rejections. Like level, you look at the level play over here that occurred, right? Rejected the level, rejected it, kind of had little moves in between them. I use the same thing, right? I do everything the same way. When I have a wide spot, what am I going to do? All right, I want to look for where the center is, and then I'll try to play off the center as well. I don't want to get caught in the middle, but I can kind of identify where there's going to be potential moves to scalp with, right? Failed bullish bearish move here right now, right? But the 2 minutes looking so freaking ugly ranging. Like the 2 minute looks horrible right now for gold. It's just been ranging. So it's stuck in this pocket right now. Between here and here, that's where it's stuck. Right now, it just built that level that it currently bounced off of. So it could get stuck in here. 5 minute is still downtrending, right? It's trying to challenge that break at 85.6 right now. Right, it's trying to go for it again. It went for it once. There it's going right now. So let's see if this will break this guy over here, right? This is where that it kind of will line up with that area. That candle right here will line up with that area, that downtrend, 85.25, and it needs to start closing above it and then start holding, and then maybe really contest that 89. Until then, it's still rejecting that downtrend on the 5 minute, that first pocket. Yeah, 2 minute on gold looks horrible. It looks really bad right here. All right. So hopefully that clears it up a little bit. Okay. Man, look at that move on. Look at that move from here. That was nuts. That filled that gap and then just shot up into the outer space. Let's see what the 5 minute looked like over here. Next area was 346. This candle right here. This is the candle that it currently just rejected right here on the 5 minute. That guy. All right, let's line that up on the 1 minute because I like to always kind of have a visual. Right, there it is. And then you would have that blue is all the way down here, lines up with the 1 minute blue right there. So this is where the 5 minute could get stuck. If it does retest, it's going to retest the break of these purples right here. So if it's going to retest an area to see if it'll hold, it might retest that 91 area if there's a pullback coming. And on the 5 minute, that actually looks like a nice kind of orby orb here on the 5 minute. On the 1 minute, it looks like not as clean, right? You got this space, which is a little tighter, and then you got a heck of a lot of space down here. On the 5 minute, it looks very nice actually. Top, mid, bottom. This is just this there. No, did I draw it wrong? No, it's all the way down here. What am I doing with that line? Did I move that line? Yeah, it's all the way. Okay, there we go. Now it looks right. There we go. That would be the break. Okay, I see what I did there. That was the break of this purple candle right there. So these are the two areas for retest. Boom, boom, and then below it, you would have your right there. So this one would go here, and then this one would go here, and then these are my blocks right now. What I would have. So if it breaks below here, then you have space between here. Breaks below here, space between here. Continues to hold this, right? Then you break up here. You'll continue to go up. So this is kind of how I dissect my charts when I'm looking for where the chop could start occurring. Right, between 12 and 91, there's potential if it does not break over 12. There's another above the 1 minute, 25, 267. This is a monster candle. This is a mother candle. It is when one candle covers the full next. Oh, like an engulfing. Ah, okay. Like an engulfing candle, but the engulfing is usually in front. Wait for rejection from one side, then I answer scale and from there. Okay, I see what you're doing there. That's actually a cool little thing to look at. 1111. I see what you're doing there. All right. There was a gap up there at 2067. Let me see. I didn't see that one. Oh yeah, look at that. There was one right here too. There was one right here at 60. I don't see one at 67. So on NQ there wasn't one at 67. There was a two right here. There was one right here between 57 and then this one right here at 60. Little tiny ass ones. And then this one right here at 48. That was the most noticeable one. And then this one right here at 57. And then that's all I had there. Yeah. Okay. All right, Javi, where is the best place to look at how to detect imbalances like the one we caught this morning? What kind of imbalances? So like anything to do with like sauce with Max's stuff, we can't go over that. We can only go over like quantum things. So I'm not sure which kind of imbalance you're talking about. But if it has to do with the max imbalance thing, we cannot discuss that here, unfortunately. How would you take this trade now? At 8:27. 8:27. What time did that occur? Oh, yeah. Like, I didn't even enter this, right? I mean, I tested it out on one of my evals, but this was just a nice A++ break of a purple, but this wasn't like a super clean setup. I was looking for this gap to fill, and then it filled it, and then it skyrocketed. But this right here was a failed bearish move that led to an A++ setup that then just kind of picked up, and it just launched. Oh yeah, just the crap. Best way to learn is basically trading, playing it with 3 micros. Yeah, it is. It is, Tunda. All right. Are you going to be moving everything to wealth charts? Might be. I mean, if FFF is kind of doing wealth charts, I really want to mess. When Quantum is on wealth charts, I'm gonna mess around with it a shit ton. So I'm gonna be buying a ton of evals from Apex and FFF just to mess around with it, and then I'm gonna have my fun and figure everything out and how I want to use it trading on wealth charts. Because I do love wealth charts charting system, like the ease of entering and trailing, and you could left click and pick your like everything. I love how wealth chart has their easy to click like access to buying, selling, and trailing. So I cannot wait to get Quantum on there. Like I literally cannot wait. Good night, Monty. All right, what time is it? I'm not that behind right now. When will there be another Gypsy episode? Hopefully soon. You know, I'm always available. I'm always trading. 2:27. I will speak on New York time zone. All right, 2:27. Let's go look at 2:27. All right, 2:27 New York. Because that was up here. So up here, I didn't have anything in terms of a trifecta, if that's what you're talking about. Because at this setup right here, right, this was that push to that level, right? It obviously did not get there. And then immediately I started drawing out my zone. So once I had that blue occur here, right, this purple did break, right? It did break. This would have presented a potential setup for a push up towards that level. It did not give it to us. It had the break. It had the little retest. And then it had a real nice pullback. And then it pushed up one more time. And then it went the opposite way, and this is where I started seeing that short. Then I saw the break of that blue, and then I started seeing the same exact thing in the opposite direction. Rejected, and then the dump. Like that immediate dump within seconds of starting the show, the Power Hour show. But this was literally it. That was what I was looking at that time. was just this area right here. So at 227, there wasn't anything that really pushed up over here, on the 1 minute at least. On the 2 minute, it was pushing up for the most part until it got to about 226. Then it also gave the curl down, right? And then the 5 minute. The 5 minute did also do the same thing over here at 205, then pulled up 220, and then here's where it kind of stalled out at 225. And then I started seeing the curling a tiny bit. Wasn't like super sold on it on the 5 exactly. I was more looking at the 1 minute for that setup. And that was it. And that's where we caught that boom. Took a look at this morning's open. The retest at 9:27 a.m. after the stall. Just before open rip, it was clean. Yes, it was. I did see that. I did see it. I did not take it. Let me clear up the chart. I have when I do examples and I leave all the lines up, it's like I got lines all over the place. I don't need to have them all over the place. So let's look at 9:27 in the morning, right? And again, trading market open is risky. Period. Right? I don't like to take market open trades because it's super risky. Okay. So I did leave a sauce box up here. But yes, this was a clean A++ setup at 924. Beautiful, like low risk too, which is insane at that time. Like literally was a 5-point risk, 6-point risk, right? But you had to break through this as well. So, you know, it was a little bit of a cautionary setup, but the risk was so low. Once that ripped through it, and then it kind of pushed up, and then it rejected my sauce box. I took the short with llama in them. It could not break through the sauce box. Nice rejection here, and then that follow through with the setup right here with the 5 minute and 1 minute cross down the stack level formation. Right, if I get rid of the box, you'll see it right here. Right, there's your stack level formation. Here's your 5 minute that occurred first. Obviously, I prefer the 1 minute to occur first, but when you have other confluences, sauce box and llama's fib, I took that. Then it gave you a retest. I took this rejection as well. And then I also took this guy right here. I took this. Once the guy came up and retested, stop loss above. And then rode this nice little baby kind of to like right here, I think. I think I got stopped out right here. And then there was a level down below. And then you have your new level formation. And then I played this right here as well. Okay. I took a look at this morning. Yeah, so that one was clean. You're in the long. Hey, let's go, 11. Very nice. And Lucid. Lucid can trade micro, silver, and gold. Oh, really? Lucid still, I didn't try it on. But how many contracts? Because some of them limited how many contracts. And that's the gripe I'm having with some of them, is that they limited how much you can trade. The contract size, like 2 or 3 micros. Which is, you know, I like to go 5. I like 5. Do you have minimum and max ATR to trade? No, I don't. I just kind of look at it, right? If the ATR is low, it's just going to take a while for the setup to play out. And I hate that. Like, I hate waiting forever, because especially if you're in a trade like at 7:30 and it's going to take like 10 minutes for your trade to set up, the closer you get to that next market open, the more influxes you're going to start seeing, and the higher chance that the play might not fully play out to what you want, because you might stay stuck in that chop before the market opens for that particular market. Like 8 p.m. is Tokyo, obviously, and then 7 p.m. is Sydney. So I look at the market movement. If it's just like super low, like 5 or 6, you know, you're going to wait a while. You're going to wait maybe 4, 3, 5 minutes for a trade to play out. Very nice, 11. Looks like you're eating, brother. So yeah, the quantum range. So Tunda, I hope that makes sense when I explained, right? When I look for a wide range, right? That's where I look for a wide 5-minute range, and I play those A++ setups on the one when I lined it up, just like I kind of drew out a little while ago with those wide 5-minute plays. You can eat in the chop a good amount. Phil's is going to take off. Can you go over gaps? Not really, Finny, because those gaps again, right? The gaps that I just showed, they're rare gaps that you don't see. But the way that I would play them is based on max off stuff. So I can only go over quantum stuff. Obviously, max stuff, you know, I go over in my coaching and things like that, but I can't go into like details at all. I'm sorry, brother. Is that for me? That's it for me. Good night, gang. Good night, Rodolph. Night, night. Close the door, kid. You guys working. Thanks for explaining that. All right, hold on. Good. That was my question. Is quantum directly with wealth charts? It will be. Yes, it will be connected to wealth charts. I can't wait. Like, I'm so excited, guys. You don't understand. So my question is, do we still need TradingView, or is it directly with wealth charts? You will be able to use your choice of platform. So it will be on both TradingView and wealth charts. So you'll be able to decide which platform you want to have it on. I am not 100% sure if you need to sign up for it over there too, though. That's still up in the air because both platforms are completely different and they're going to have their own kind of subscription-based payment system. So it's going to differ. So I'm not sure exactly how that's going to work. Once we have clarification on that, we'll obviously update everybody. But for the time being, I am not sure how that part's going to work. You gotta hook us up with a nice layout on what. Oh yeah, once I get quantum on wealth charts, I'm gonna be messing around with it so much. And once I get a nice layout, I will show everybody, and I will definitely share it. Lucid allows full contracts still, EC? Okay, that's good. Wait, so which props aren't allowing metals again? So there's a few that have limited the contracts. I've gotten emails from a couple of them that have said they've limited. Obviously, you can't trade minis, silver, or gold anymore on a lot of them. But micros on most you can. They just limited how many contracts you can trade on those. I know FFF didn't do it, and I think you guys are saying now Lucid allows full as well. But the majority of them have like limited it to like 5 or less micros. I think Alpha, when I tried to trade gold the other night on Alpha, it didn't let me go over 2. I couldn't go over 2 micros. And I caught like a 100 tick move, and it was like 80 some bucks. I was like, I was being kind of whatever. Was it? I don't remember if it was 100 tick. It was up there. It was like almost a $10 move, and it was kind of like, oh man. Even though I shouldn't be like that. You got to hook us up with them. Say, yeah, Lucid allows it. Wait, so which probably okay? So you become profitable in less than a year after starting to learn and creating an indicator. So essentially, I lost money, Reflex. Before the indicator got built up, I was doing this manually. And quantum didn't evolve to what it is now until we started putting the indicator together, right? When I first started, it was before the mastermind, when I started looking into futures, I was blowing an account a day easily. And I was playing minis on 50Ks. And I blew a ton of accounts trying to figure it out first. Then I took the mastermind. Then I started piecing the candlestick stuff that he was talking about. And like there's a lot of his sauce that kind of like I was looking at my setups wrong, right? Break and retest is one of those things that, you know, he that's how you play or break and retest. Same with like flips and support and resistance, break and retest. And then that kind of bled through with other things that I started piecing together. But the candles themselves are unique in terms of how they form. They only form when I'm gonna post up my PowerPoint. I'm gonna post this up one day because you know, and there I share what like kind of the base of it plus the secret sauce that is the added stuff that Owen and I put together to look for the sequence, right? So there's a little bit of momentum, a little bit of timing, and a little bit of volume mixed in there. So if you like put on the volume, people always try to think it's volume. It's not volume. It's not just volume, right? Because you're going to get some that form with no volume at all, then others that form with a little bit more. It's just a tiny part of it. But there's a lot that when I looked for the sequence, when I was looking from the 5 second all the way up to the 30 second, I was looking for a certain sequence to occur. And it would be a pain in the butt to do it. But I used to do it. Like I used to do it naturally. For me, it felt normal trading on my phone. Obviously now it's like I don't even know how I did it anymore. It was a very interesting time for me. I didn't know trading on the phone and charting the way I was charting on the phone was a talent. Until people were like, "How the hell do you do it?" But no, I I was not profitable off the bat, brother. Like I lost so much money trying to learn this thing first, and then I had the first payout I was ever supposed to get was a 14K payout from my funded futures. And I blew that thing on one day. And this was money I needed at the time too. Like, and I blew that thing in less than 10 minutes because I got greedy, overconfident, and I wanted to turn it into 20K. And that was my turning point. Literally, that blowing that account was my turning point. Once I blew that account and I was pretty much going to give up trading, that's where my wife kind of talked me off the ledge. She's the one that said, "You really want to give up? Like, you've been putting so much time and effort into this, and you can pass evals." She's like, see me. She knows I can pass evals. And it's like, why can't you translate that? And we had a whole little talk and everything. And she's the one that talked me off the ledge off of not quitting. Then I bought my Tradovate account. And then the Tradovate straight to funded is where I learned to be consistent. The 20% consistency is literally what taught me to be consistent. Instead of aiming for thousands of days, I was just going for three to 400 a day. 400 was my main target at first. The first 10 days hitting 400 on the 50K, Tradovate straight to funded, right? That's your 2K. But then I had to put rules on myself, right? I was trading 2 to 3 minis. Then I started sizing down to micros. Instead of trading 2 to 3 minis, I would trade micros. But it sucked because I was so used to 5-10 points. I was up $300 to $600. Now with 5 micros, I'm only up 60 to 100, right? And that's the part that sucked. But I had to kind of keep telling myself, don't be an idiot because you already made this mistake. And then when I would see the losses, right? I would take a 5 to 7 point loss. Those losses didn't feel so bad anymore because now I was just losing $50 to $70 versus $300 to $500. And now my 50K accounts were living a lot longer. I was able to play a lot more, and I was able to kind of build my consistency from there. And back then, my main target was 10 points. The main target's always been 10 points. The 5 points that I tend to take is just for me. Like, that's my kind of anxiety relief. Like, okay, the risk is there. Once I take the 5 points, because I can almost always get 5 points, that's that relief for me to like be like, okay, I can let the trade breathe and do its thing now. Because if I lose it, I'm only going to lose 40, 50, maybe $60. That's not going to hurt me at all. And my runners is where I collect the majority of stuff. So yeah, no. And then after that, right, that's where it started kind of free falling. Once I got that first payout from Tradovate, then I was able to kind of really lock in. And I only had to, instead of hitting 400 a day, I only had to hit 250 because I already had the buffer. And hitting 250 was a breeze. Once I started hitting 250 for another 10 days, I got another payout. I bought another account. And then I did the process all over again. Looked for that target, called it, got another payout off of that account. Went back to the other company. I don't want to mention them too many times because we're not affiliated with them, obviously. I bought these plans that were very similar to Alpha. And then I did the exact same thing. Passed these 2 evals. I bought these 2 cheap evals, passed them, built my buffer. And then once I built my buffer to 2K, 250 was all I needed. So with these 450, this is the part where I always tell people like how you don't need to rely on big days. 4 50K accounts hitting 250 a day for 2 months got me almost 20K. 250 a day. So 250 a day with these 2 accounts, I was able to take out 1,200 a week. Every 5 days, I was able to pull 1,200 times 2 on the two MFF accounts. And then on the 2 50K accounts from Tradovate, I was taking out 4K every 2 weeks. And that's $8,400. That's $8,800 every 10 days I was taking out with 4 50K accounts. $8,800. Hitting 250 a day. That's how my thing started. That's literally how my thing started. That's how I got out of my slump. That's how I became profitable. That's how I ended up paying for the mastermind, and everything that I lost is just hitting that over and over and over again. And it was so easy. And I used to, my first account, I used to trade for about an hour 20 to an hour 40 to make 400. Still less time than what I used to do at my 9 to 5 job to make 300 in 10 hours, 300 to 340 in 10 hours. So I knew I had something here. And then I was able to multiply that. And then multiply it, and then add, and then add, and add, and then it just snowballed. So you don't need to aim for the stars, guys. That's why we emphasize base hits. It's freaking incredible what you can do with so little, and you don't need to gamble your whole account every single day. You gotta stay strict, right? And this is what I built. This is to have these hard rules for me to follow. I know where there's a potential failed bullish move. I know where there's a potential failed bearish move. Right? I have my stops in place. I have my levels to give me guidance. That was the structure I needed because I would let a play go, not knowing where the play was dead for me, and now I know exactly where the plays are dead. And I know where my entry points are. I know where my stop loss points are. I know where I might have resistance, support. All of that is laid out for me. And you add other confluences to it, it gives it more strength. Like that's what, like, you know, I always emphasize on that, right? And I know Max likes to make fun of Logan a little bit because everyone's like, "Oh, Logan's teaching us base hits," and Max, you know, is kind of like, "Whoa, okay, fine, you know, fuck us." But but I'm glad that people are getting it from anybody. It doesn't matter. We're all a team. Like we all feed off each other. I love Logan to death, right? I love Max, and we don't care who you got it from. We are preaching the same damn thing. And anybody can do this if you set your damn rules and you follow a system that works for you, right? Is quantum going to work for everyone? No, it's not, right? It might feel overwhelming for some. For others that pick it up, they're going to be like, holy shit, this is as easy as he seems, right? But it takes time to really start to see everything line up and be confident, right? You want to forward test as much as possible. I love forward testing. Why do I do this during live market only? Because I forward test more than I back test. I can back test forever and I can find the good setups. Right? But I'm going to learn the most from the losing trades, and especially during real market hours is where I want to see the same setups, do the same thing over and over and over and over and over again on repeat. All right. I trade micros and get tilted and go to minis, which is even worse. Yes, that's not good, Seeking Profit. That is not, you don't want to do that. Literally just did it up 70 and just turn it off. There you go, Seeking. Lucid is only 150 per day after you pass eval, right? I think is it Lucid a one-time fee? I know Funded Next is a one-time fee. I want to say Lucid is also a one-time fee. So you don't pay anything per month. You can take your sweet little time. It's a one-time fee. And then after you pass, and then any account type that you guys pass becomes one-time fee afterwards, right? If you pass an eval, all of a sudden the eval subscription will end and your funded account, you don't got to pay anything per month on a funded account. So there's no race to get that payout, right? Everyone wants to race to that payout as fast as possible. Take your time. Take your freaking time. That account is there for you now. Make something out of it. Don't just throw it in the trash as soon as you get it. Man, for real, only risk 50 to 150 to trade, maybe 200 if I'm confident. Yeah, see, that 11, exactly. You got to lose 10 plus trades to blow that account, right? If you have something like I do with my 3 strikes on my rule, guess what? My account ain't dying in one day. It's going to die in like 3 or 4 days or even a week. When you blow less accounts, you will have better psychology. Yes, you will take better trades because you're managing risk better. Exactly, G57. Exactly. It helps. And then when you build up your little arsenal, when you have more than 2 funded or 1 funded, when you have like a few funded accounts, right? This is why I don't copy trade. You're going to take an L here and there. It's going to happen. That's a part of the game. We're going to take L's. Don't put yourself on a pedestal where you think you're going to be perfect in this, because you're not. Nobody is going to be perfect, right? But don't beat yourself down because you took a couple losing trades. If you're sized correctly and you're constantly following your same routine with risk, you are going to be fine, right? But you have to learn to stop too. You have to learn to be able to like take those 2-3 strikes and then stop, because that's our problem. The problem that we all have is that we want to immediately revenge trade. And that's what leads to the tilt. And that's what leads to the blowing the account. Instead of just stop, I'm down to 300. My account's alive for another few days. Today's not the day. Then the next day, you might have a chance to start rebuilding. And then the next day, before you know it, you're back up, right? Let me show you that fun account again, right? That fun account that I mess with, where I'm not fully following the rules, but guess what saves me, right? What saves me is that daily loss limit, okay? And if I wasn't forced to stop, with this thing would have been getting cooked. And I did, like, again, right? I have a couple bad days here and there with this fun account, but this is the account that I'm not necessarily strict with. Okay, and I want you guys to see this, because this is the important part about having something that stops you. Okay, and this account is alive. I've already gotten 3 payouts out of this account. All right, I've already gotten 3 payouts out of this account. And here's like the thing about when we get a payout from an account, right? Then all of a sudden that account, we kind of like don't care too much about it. Like we're kind of like, I already got my payouts out of it, right? This account is surviving because it forces me to stop when I take the daily loss limit. I have a nice buffer in it. Like I have a pretty damn good buffer in it. So when I take a that big loss, right, it's still alive. And guess what? I can rebuild it in a few days. I've done it multiple times. This account stays alive. And this is the account that I will trade when I'm bored. When I'm just like, well, let me see what I can do on it. I mean, it's going to stop me if it takes my daily loss limit. It's just going to stop me. And guess what? The next couple days, I have the ability to potentially make it back. And I do. Over and over and over again. Like I make it a challenge to myself. And this is just me because I love to challenge myself. Let me see if I can rebuild this in a few days. Let me see if I have a couple bad days. If I can come out of it alive. I've given myself these challenges where I have like $300 drawdown. Let me see how much of it I can get back. And I've gotten it back up to like 1,500. It's doable. It's just we're not patient. Like we don't want to control our size. We want to just go in YOLO and just say fuck it when we're down to $200 a drawdown. Instead of let's slowly build it up. Like let's just, instead of going in with 4 or 5 micros, let's start going with 2 or 1 and let's see what we can do with that. And you could easily recover from stuff, right? But we're so impatient. When we were $1,800 away from where we're supposed to be, all of a sudden it becomes trash. Instead of trying to like just challenge yourself, just test yourself, see what you can do with 1 micro. It's crazy sometimes. I've brought back $200 drawdown to 1,000 with 1 freaking micro. It's fun to do. This is great. Getting our trades right and getting our mind right. Yep, exactly, V-Pizzle. Maestro, are you setting a daily loss limit for yourself? I do 3 strikes amount. So this is an example of when I don't follow 3 strikes and I just keep going on 1 account. Like I just keep going. I'm just like, oh, I could have stopped here. I could have stopped there. And I just keep going. Like I don't follow the rules on this particular account because it's going to stop me on its own. So that's what I take my tilt on out of when I do go tilt. Because it happens. We go tilt. I go tilt. I'm not innocent from it. I show you guys when I blow an eval here and there, right? But I don't do it all the time. Like, I don't do it all the time. And I use it, usually, this is what I use my daily loss limit accounts for. Because I know it's going to stop me. And then once I'm over it, I'm like, okay, I'm done. Right? Like, I baby my TPT accounts. I baby my alpha accounts. I baby my, I have a couple accounts. I have that other account type that I just went live with. I went live with another company. I babied those. Those were daily payout accounts. Right? My Tradovate accounts. Those are the ones I baby. I have fun with the others, right? I kind of have a little bit of fun with Funded Next and Lucid. I got to take them a little more serious, and I do the same with Apex. I do the same thing with Apex. And then this one, because this one stops me, right? Apex doesn't have daily loss limit. Neither does, I think one of the Lucid account types does. I can't remember which one. Or if it's Funded Next. One of them do. I can't remember which one. But this one I know, and this is literally just this company that I'm trading with, that account that I showed you is just 1 account. Just 1. I didn't buy any more. It was just 1 account. And that thing has been alive since when? December 29th is when I started trading this thing. And I took 3 payouts out of it already. And now we're in February 12th and it's still freaking alive. It's got $4,000 of like $3,600 of drawdown right now. And it's just fun to challenge yourself every once in a while. Like this is just me doing that and testing myself. But I'm very strict with my other accounts. I do 3 strikes, I'm out, and I'm done. My serious accounts, I take 3 losses, I'm out. I don't continue to trade that account. I move on to another one. I always take a break and I move on. I'm 600 away from blown away on the funded. And remember, DL, that funded account, you don't have to pay a month for it. You don't have to pay monthly for that account. You can take your time, build it back up. A couple micros at a time. Test yourself. All right, be strict with your entries. Be strict with your stop losses. Respect them. On the 3rd and 4th loss, on the 3rd and 4th, your losses were near equal, but the number of trades were really different. Was this due to daily loss limit or something else? I can't remember exactly at this point. The 3rd and 4th, 13 and 12. Yeah, I can't remember. I think on one I just went in with minis or something, and the 87th, I think the 87, the 3rd, I was definitely with micros on that day. So I was just kind of bored. I can't remember exactly because I trade so many accounts. I can't remember exactly what I did with this one. On the 3rd and 4th, slow down, brother. 100 a day for the next 6 days. Yeah, and take it slow, DL. Right? You'll be surprised what you can do. Like I said, you'll be surprised what you can do when you start really being strict with yourself. Like treat that 600 as if it was your cash account. Now you have a $600 cash account. slowly grind it up and build it up if you can, right? But be strict with your entries. Post up your losses, guys. Like, I want you guys, please. Like, I beg everyone every time I'm doing these sessions, or every time I see guys that are struggling, post your losing trades, please. Like, we will break them down. I'm very active in there. I love to break shit down. Like, that's how I learned, right? I learned to read the market the way I read it now because I broke down every single one of my losses. Every single one. I know we love to show off our wins. We love to show off our wins. But you should be really highlighting your losses because that's going to make you so much better in the long run. Something you said to me has changed how I trade and live. I never want to play video games anymore. I just want to trade. There you go, man. Yeah, that's awesome, brother. I'm going to start posting my losses. I screenshot all before and afters on my trade. There you go, 1111. And I'm telling you, man, that's how I learned, dude. I learned how to read my stuff because of that. Like, I learned from like the mistakes I made, what setups are good, what setups are not good, right? I know how to place my stops based on all of that. Oh, look, we got a stack level that just formed. Oh, dang, yeah, look at that. Right? The 5 minute could not break out. That 313 held. Could not break out of it. And now you're getting your down push. Right, and it was stuck up here for how long? How long was it stuck up here? From 8:35 for 30 minutes. It was stuck up here. Look at this. It was stuck up here. It finally broke in, and now you're getting your push with the stack level formation. Let me see what that looked like on the 1 minute. Let me look at this on the 1 minute. This was up here, and this was right there. This is where you got stuck. That's where it was testing right here. There's a stack level formation play for you guys. If anyone caught that beauty. The candles look horrible though. This is definitely low volume. We'll see what ATR looks like. 6.25, yeah, see, crappy low volume. Little potential pivot continuation happening there, but who knows what that low volume, what's going to look like. Something you said, I'm going to start. How you take partials? Do you sell at market or you put TP at the price? So I always put my TPs on my DOM, right? If I'm looking for 10 points, I will put my 10 points and then I auto trail. I always start auto trailing from entry. So as soon as I hit my 10 points, I start auto trailing from entry. And again, if I'm in a trade that I'm risking 15 points on, right? If the ATR is moving at that rate, I'm going to go for 15 points first. I might take one out at 10 if I'm in with 3, maybe like 3. I might take one out at 10 for that risk reduction, and then the next at 15 and let my runner run. But the majority of the time, I try to go for 1 for 1. Like people always ask me that, and I never really answered it. But I'm like, when I'm thinking about it, I always go for 1 for 1. Like I always go for 1 for 1, and then let my runner get the rest for me if it continues. Do I place orders on TradingView? No, I place orders on Tradovate, Finny. I place it on the SuperDom. I don't know if you got in late, but I put my orders in on the SuperDom. So let me do the little screen share again. All right, this is where I place my orders in. Stop sharing, so you guys can just see it. The recording won't see it, but just so everyone can kind of see the DOM one more time, right? This is where I take my trades from. So I use the DOM as confluence as well, right? I look for levels for potential reaction, and then I look for the DOM to react around there for the speed up. And that's what I'm usually saying my DOM's going crazy. My DOM's starting to react. It's starting to go crazy. It's based around anything that I can plot on my chart, whether it's a level, a candle, that I can correlate the two with. And this is where I do market buy or market sell. I don't place orders. If I like the break and I like the retest, I'm going to do buy, sell. And then I place my stop losses accordingly. Look at that. Came all the way down to that purple that it broke over here at 67. Right, this is where it currently bounced right here. Should have left that on the 1. And then below that, you would have here at 53. All right, it's going to retest some of this. It's still in a green uptrend technically, right? It did break below here. Now tested a little bit of this. So let's see if you have a potential failed bullish move coming for that continuation push down to potentially go down here. All right, but this is where I place my trades. Oops, I forgot to change the stream. My bad. My bad. I was explaining that. Change stream. All right. So this currently bounced, right? Let me turn off that volume stuff. All right. So where the previous failed bearish move was on the 5-minute, right, is a potential resistance point turned support. That's where it currently went down to. It got really close to 67. It hit 69 by 2 points and then gave a nice strong push up. Now it's going to retest around here, that 96,301, that 5-minute crossover. The green, it is still in an uptrend currently, right? The green is in play, so you got 2 greens on the 5-minute chart. So if it wants to go down and challenge some of this, it needs to break below 67. So break 67, you're going to challenge this on the 1-minute. But currently, it is coming up to retest that 96 and 301 pocket range. Pocket, sorry, not pocket. So we got me thinking about pockets. The stacked level. The stacked level. I'm gonna start posting a lot of them. How do you take partials? So I always take, if I'm in with 3 micros, I'll take one out at usually wherever my risk to reward ratio is, right? 1 for 1. So I'm risking 10 points. I'll try to take 1 out of 10. If I'm risking 5 points though, and I like the 10 points to hit, I will take it out of 10. Like 10 points is the main target. Occasionally, the 5 and 10 is my personal thing for risk reduction. I use Figma and paste screenshots in there, and you can add text to, etc. Yep, there you can do that. I played that from the top of the break of the blue. Damn, I wish I was in the short. Oh, don't wish, man. Just it played out beautifully, but don't force a trade. Do you place orders from TradingView? I place them from Tradovate. How would you play that stack level? That stack level here. The 5-minute gave you a pretty nice potential entry point once that level locked in. So usually, right, with the 5-minute level hold, if I look at the candle already pushing below 301, right, I can already identify where my stop loss would be based on this candle here. Once I start seeing that level is potentially going to lock in, I might begin my entry up here, right around 300 to, let's say, 296, right? But I'm going to try to correlate that with what I'm seeing here, right? You had that 294 break initially, retested only to break back up, come back up to retest this blue candle that broke, then came back down, then it broke it one more time over here at 913, right before that thing locked in at 515. So I would have, if I got in over here and I got stopped out, I would have gotten in again here. So around 94, 95, let's say, right, just around here for that level to lock in. Stop loss would have been right above that 5-minute candle or just that 301. And what you're looking for, right, this is that same, the same setup occurred during the MOT live event. We caught a few of these setups already in Power Hour as well. When that level locks in, you want to see the push. And you saw that right here. The level locked in, you saw a tiny pull up and then the push down. So if a level is going to be strong, you want to see the immediate move down, right? It pulled up to that 89.90 area and rejected. So already it's telling me that this is a pretty strong area, right? Let's see if we see this flip of this cross here at 80.75. So if it closes below, then you want to see it start to hold below, and then you're going to see a potential retest of this whole blue guy right here. And from 80 to 69. So it does have a bit of room to go if it wants to go. It's just the volume is kind of crappy for me right now. It's kind of like watching paint dry. Can you share how you use a journal to trade more efficiently? I don't journal. I screenshot and then I just review. I trade so many accounts. Like I don't really journal each individual account. I screenshot every single one of my losses and I have them in a folder that I will go over. And if I identify what I missed, then I'll be like, okay, that's what it was, and I'll make a note of it, and then I'll delete it usually because I have so many that I would screenshot before. And now, right, I don't take as many losses as I used to, but I still take losses, right? I'm not perfect. I take losses. Power hour, I've taken losses, and I'll screenshot it and immediately go back and break it down. Be like, okay, what did I miss? Right? Like one of you guys earlier, right? When I got in that initial play for that short right here, right? You guys pointed out to me that previous area where it crossed up, where it broke, it crossed down and then flipped. That's where it bounced. And I was like, ugh. Of course, I'm an idiot. I should have waited for it to break below that. Right? So I got caught in that. And it happens. That's a part of it. So, like, journaling is very important for everybody, absolutely, right? But we kind of do it in our own way. And I do it by just screenshotting, going over, checking it, right? And reviewing, making sure, what did I miss? Did I mess something up? Did I accidentally not pay attention to the time? You know, did I get into the trade right before 8 o'clock, right before 9 o'clock? Those are like little things that I try to keep in mind, right? I know exactly what times I'm the most profitable. I know exactly what times I'm the least profitable. I know exactly, you know, what days I'm the least profitable. But I still look for setups. You know, I still look for setups. And I try to continue to collect data. I do it all the time, right? This is my video game. So I try to see, you know, okay, if I'm patient enough, if I'm not trying to force something and rush something at this time, can I still catch a setup? Most of the time I can, right? But I take losses at certain times as well. Keep filling gap. This was played correctly with a range retest play. Yeah, that looks clean, man. That looks very clean. There's your break. There's your retest. Yeah. Very nice, Madhouse. That was played correctly. I caught it for 40 tick. Runner, one left. Let's go, Jack. Do you have any videos on YouTube for that? For what, Garav? How do you I'm gonna make a video on using Tradovate where I kind of show examples of that. But I don't think I have like exact videos on that. I don't think I do. But I am gonna make a Tradovate like exactly how I use the DOM video, and I will show examples of how I set it and everything. So you guys can definitely check that out when I get the chance to make it. How do you get rid of the cloud? The cloud, yeah. So you get rid of it by going to settings and the trend transparency, and you want to put that to 100. Once you put it to 100, it'll disappear, and then you'll have the blank slate. Do you use 30-second time frame? Nope, I haven't traded on the 30-second time frame in like a year now. Can you set a stop loss on the DOM too? Yes, you can. And you can change your stop. There's a little cog on the DOM, and it has the option to do stop type, and you could make a trailing stop, you could do a stop limit, or you could do a regular stop. So I only use regular stop, so I place it there and it doesn't move, and then I use trailing stop. So once the play plays out, right, if I get my TPs, then I go back and I erase the set stop, I switch it to trailing stop, and then I start trailing for wherever I click it. Wherever I put the little the contract to trail from, it'll trail. If I place it from 10 points, if I place it from 15 points, 13, it'll follow it from there. Or I can place it from 2 points, it'll trail it by 2 points. And that's how I do it, right? You can use ATMs if you guys want. Owen has an ATM setting based off my 5 and 10 point criteria pinned in the quantum chat if you guys want to use that. I just personally don't like ATMs, especially because I DCA on retest, right? I do strategic DCAing based on the risk and everything, and I always respect the stop loss. But when you do that with an ATM setting, it kind of throws everything off a little bit for me. Do you use 30-second time? Can you stop loss on the DOM? Yeah. And on the phone is the only one. So on the phone is the only one where you have to type in a stop loss if you want it to be set. So I do the cancel all on that. Using the DOM is basically like watching order flow then. Kind of, yeah. But I don't have the numbers. Like you could put the numbers on. You can show the histogram. But if you pay attention, the histogram will kind of throw you off because you're going to see big ass numbers, and then you're going to be like, oh my god, there's some huge numbers right there, and you're going to be afraid, and then you're going to watch it rip right through those big numbers like it's nothing. So I don't even have any numbers. I'm just looking at the speed, the reaction of the DOM, and that's all I'm looking for. I want to see the DOM give me a reaction near an area I'm interested in potentially finding a bounce or rejection or something like that. How do you stop loss with the DOM? How do you set stop loss? So you would, the way I have it set, right, I would left click on the space on the sell, and I would right click on the space on the buy. And again, right, this is why it's important to kind of go in and tinker. And when I make the video, it'll be a little more kind of explanatory, but you want to be able to kind of go in and tinker a little bit yourself and get used to the motions of it. And I would recommend getting a cheap Apex account to kind of do that with, and they have those really nice sales. So you're not going to be like, I want to be careful to mess around with it. So I've traded on the Dom since the beginning of time. So for me, that's very natural. Mother range to mother range. Look at you. Look at dude, 1111. You found your own little thing. I love that, man. That's awesome, brother. I love that you found your own. You have your own little confluence, dude. I love that, man. Is the trend transparency number? Yeah. Yeah, the 5-minute quant levels are gold. I need to pay more attention to those. Yes, the 5-minute are the strongest levels for quant. For everything but gold. Gold is the 2-minute. That's the only one that the levels change to the 2-minute. Everything else is the 1 and the 5. Funny thing, it showed both purple and blue at the point and no longer exists. Really? Weird. That's weird. Screenshot those. If you refresh it and it looks the same, and I will compare it to my chart. I want to make sure that we aren't kind of getting weird glitches with TradingView. And unfortunately, with the app and the web page, you might find tiny discrepancies. That's basically because of the refresh rate on the app versus the web page slightly differ. I hate that about TradingView. I really hope Wealth Charts fixes a lot of these issues. Like, that's why I'm so anxious to get my hands on it. Like, I want to get in there and start digging deep at what everything looks like on Wealth Charts. Can you show your 2-minute and 5-minute quant indicator chart settings? Yeah. So for NQ, right? I have the 1 and the 2. This is how I have it. Everything else is identical. Everything else is the exact same. And then the 5-minute, I have it set to the 1.5. The 1-minute and the 5-minute are set to the 1.5. And gold is the only one where it's the 1 and the 2 are set to the 1 and 2. So here's my 1-minute NQ, 1 and 5. All right, trend transparency set to 100. On NQ 5 minutes, the only one I have it set to 85, but I don't want to see it on the lower time frame, so I have those set to 100. And then on gold, right, if we go over to gold, here I have it set to 1 and 2 on the 1-minute. Okay. And then on the 2-minute, I have it set the same, 1 and 2. On the 5-minute, I leave it 1 and 5. It won't populate anything below the 5-minute level anyway, so I'll leave it on there. Sometimes it'll give you some okay-ish, right? It'll give you some okay-ish stuff to look at, but it's not consistent. It's not as consistent as the 1 and the 2 with gold. And again, that's only with gold. All right. Funny thing I showed. Thank you. I use 2 minutes along with 1 and 5 important things. You got it, brother. Yeah, I use the 1 and 2 because of the trifecta setup as well. The trifecta setup has been like one of those clean setups. I didn't get to go over a whole lot today, but we're going to save that for the next session. We're going to dig into the trifecta setups on the next section for sure. How can I find that pinned message for the ATM setting? So if you go to the quantum chat, go to the pinned messages, and you might have to scroll. He posted it a while ago. You might have to scroll through a little bit to find it, but it's in there. What's the difference between the slow and fast options? I always wondered that. Are you talking about these? Oh, these right here. These were meant to help signal out certain signals based on where the trend was going. That's all that was. So when you turn these, when you move these around and you have the filters on, right? If you have the filters on right here, it will mess with that. I don't have any of that on. I don't filter any of it. I keep my settings to just the A++ setups because the filters might filter out some decent setups. And I'm just going to kind of look at it and use my own confluences to mess around with that. So that's where these would come into play. I don't mess with them at all because I don't need them. I'm only looking at my 2 time frame levels, and then I'm looking at the signals, right? The enable entry, enable chart entries, enter on trigger candle, allow entry on non-trigger candle. We're about to get rid of this because the trigger candle is technically that triangle that you see. It's not important at all. So we'll get rid of that soon. And then the filter for signal cross is just a filter for the actual cross to occur. And then that should be within 1, right? Within 1 max bar since signal cross entry 1. Max bar says digital candle for entry 1. It should be within 1 candle. And that is it. But those are all default. That should be the automatic default settings for that. How can I find that pin mentioned? What's the difference between a slow and fast? That's why I need more monitors, but I will wait until I'm profitable. How important are the look back days? It's default. Yeah, so this is mainly important if we are going down to areas that it hasn't been down to in a while. So with the 1 minute, unfortunately, we got down to that 24,000 point. There are going to be missing levels when it gets down below. Right now we have levels, right? But I went back on my own. And right now we have levels when we went all the way down here. So it's nice to pop it. But I went back further. I went all the way back to November to look for levels that were still in play. And I did screenshot these and leave these up. Obviously I have Saucebox here too. I left these in the chat. And if we ever get down here again, I will do the same thing and screenshot levels for everybody that are still valid for further dates. And this is a unfortunately, TradingView has a look back cap for the 1 minute, so it locks up and it won't show anything. I will mainly use the 5 minute levels because the 5 minute levels you can go back pretty damn far to get some. Obviously, I don't have the look back that far set here, but if you set that to a little bit more points, right? We've set it to maybe 3,000 points. And it's set to 60 days. We could probably put it to 90 on the 5. Let's see if it populates more levels down below. Right there, it popped one more. It didn't pop another. I might have to tinker with it more, but it popped another one down here at 23,950. And that's just because that's pretty far down already, and might need to look back a little bit more. So that's how that technically works. All right. How important look back? Okay, gotcha. Thanks. Do you always look for a bounce when it comes to the strong 5 minute lines? Yes, I do look for them to potentially give me reaction. The majority of the time, I do wait for everything to line up with the action lines and everything on the 1 minute because I base my entries on the 1 minute. So I don't like to try to play for quick bounces. I know some degens in here do like to do that. I'm personally not a fan of that. I don't like to try to catch quick bounces. I want to wait for the reaction. I want to wait for a strong looking bounce candle, like a strong hammer, whether it's bearish or bullish, depending on where the level is. Yeah, of course you do 11-11. Of course you're going to like them quick moves. I've just seen, especially when the moves are violent. When the moves are violent, you want to be very patient and cautious because you could see a little bit of bounce, only for it to then follow through with a bleed through, especially when it's just like a tankathon. So you always have to be patient. All right, y'all. Wow, 2 hours and 40 minutes almost, I think, or 2 hours. No, it was I think 2 hours. We started at like 7:40, so just about 2 hours. I hope I answered a lot of your questions. This will be posted up on YouTube for any of you guys or gals that might have missed the first 30 minutes where I broke down some stuff. I hope everyone enjoys the rest of their night. Guys, please, for the YouTube gang, please like, subscribe, follow. You're going to get a lot more of this content. I do these sessions every week. So I look forward to constantly, hopefully, seeing you guys. And hopefully you guys get, my wife saying good night too. Hopefully you guys get to like really start picking up like these very low risk, simple setups that we can find over and over and over again, right? And then use those A++ setups as confirmation with other confluences. But like when you have those simple candle breaks, they're super low risk entries all over the place throughout the whole day, right? Just some require a little more patience. Like choppy Asia session, extra patience. I'm not a fan of choppy Asia, but you know, when you have New York and you have really nice volume, you will find some really nice setups. So thank you all for joining me. I appreciate y'all. I'll see you again next week. Next week, either around the same time tonight, or we'll see if we can fluctuate it. I definitely want to sneak in a lunch session for the Euro guys because I know this is super late or early for them. But everyone, thank you so much for joining me. Have a wonderful evening. Peace out. I'll see you guys tomorrow for Power Hour.